Welcome to the Mystery and History channel. Be sure to subscribe and like so you don't miss out on more videos like this one. In 1980, Soviet programmer Alexei Pajitnov created the video game Tetris, which would become one of the most popular in history. First developed on an Electronica 60 computer, the game was inspired by a traditional puzzle called pentomino. In 1903, Fanny Cochran Smith, a Tasmanian Aboriginal woman, recorded her singing on a phonograph, leaving the only known audio of the Tasmanian language. These recordings are priceless, preserving sounds and intonations of a language that would otherwise have been lost. In 1935, Jesse Owens, who would become one of the greatest track and field athletes, was photographed fueling a car at a gas station in the United States. At the time, Owens worked as an attendant to help pay for his studies at Ohio State University, balancing training with temporary jobs. In 1920, a photograph taken in Jerusalem shows a sign in the background reading "The Palestine German Bank." Made over 100 years ago, the image offers a rare glimpse of the city's urban scene in the early 20th century. In 1956, children in France received wine as part of school meals, something surprising today, but considered normal at the time. The practice reflected French cultural tradition in which alcoholic beverages were part of family and social life. King Mahendra's coronation took place in 1955, marking the start of a reign that lasted until 1972 in Nepal. During his rule, he introduced the Panchayat system, a centralized political structure that removed parties and strengthened the monarchy's direct control. In 1940, fabrics with photo-printed patterns became a major fashion trend, reflecting both technological advances and cultural changes of the time. This technique made it possible to apply detailed images directly onto fabric, creating clothing with innovative patterns and bolder looks. In 1971, the first Starbucks store opened in Seattle, Washington, marking the start of a brand that would become a global coffee reference. At that time, the focus was not serving ready-to-drink beverages, but selling small batch coffee beans, along with teas and spices. In 1967, during the capture of Jerusalem's Old City in the Six-Day War, Israeli paratroopers were photographed gathered at the Western Wall, also known as the Wailing Wall. Soviet soldiers were photographed aboard a GTSM tracked amphibious vehicle, feeding 2 polar bears with cans of condensed milk in an unusual scene recorded in the Arctic during the 20th century. In 1942, during World War II, people were photographed collecting and turning in metals to support the war effort, part of many civil mobilization campaigns in the United States and other Allied countries. In 1959, the Dalai Lama was photographed in India after leaving Tibet during a time of intense political and social tension. His arrival marked the start of his exile, which became permanent, symbolizing his search for refuge as Chinese authority expanded over Tibet. In 1931, a photograph showed an automatic machine installed at a German train station that sold heated sausages, a curious innovation in public service. An amphibious bicycle in Paris in 1932, a curious invention able to travel on land and water. The vehicle was designed to carry up to 119 pounds, offering an alternative form of transport in a time of mechanical innovation. Hank Aaron is remembered by many baseball fans as the true home run king, thanks to a career marked by consistency, dedication, and no controversy tied to substances or violations. In 1950, French actress Brigitte Bardot was photographed holding chicks in a scene that conveyed delicacy and simplicity, contrasting with her image as a film and fashion icon. At that time, Bardot was already emerging as one of Europe's most influential pop culture figures, linked to glamour and a modern lifestyle. In 1960, Bill Mazeroski of the Pittsburgh Pirates made baseball history by hitting the only walk-off home run ever in a Game 7 of the Major League Baseball World Series. In 1900, Surian warriors from Georgia were photographed wearing traditional armor while practicing combat drills. The image highlights attire from the Caucasus Mountain region that preserved medieval elements well into the 20th century. On March 12, 1974, musicians Harry Nilsson and John Lennon were photographed as they were escorted out of the Troubadour Club in West Hollywood, California, after an incident that quickly drew media attention. In 1986, automaker Oldsmobile unveiled the Incas concept car, whose interior reflected a futuristic view of automotive design at the time. The vehicle featured a fully digital dashboard, innovative for the mid-1980s, with screens replacing traditional analog gauges. In 1936, a curious plan proposed making the Eiffel Tower's second level reachable by automobile, reflecting the era's fascination with expanding car use and modernizing architectural icons. Halloween in 1957 in the United States, a time when the tradition was well established among children and families. It was common for kids to go out in costumes and ask for candy around the neighborhood, a practice known worldwide as trick or treat. In 1936, the Mercury streamliner of the New York Central Railroad was photographed passing in front of Syracuse City Hall in New York State. Designed by famed industrial designer Henry Dreyfuss, the Mercury symbolized the modernity of U.S. rail travel in the 1930s. In 1929, Charlie Chaplin was photographed with Winston Churchill on the set of City Lights in the United States, bringing together two of the 20th century's most influential figures. In 1965, during the filming of 2001, A Space Odyssey, some crew members were photographed relaxing between takes. The image shows the behind-the-scenes atmosphere of one of cinema's most innovative productions, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Old photos show how Soviet citizens celebrated getting their first televisions, especially from the 1950s on, when the device started to become common in the Soviet Union. In 1914, during World War I, soldiers in Europe made dummy heads to fool enemy snipers. These decoys were made from simple materials like wood or cardboard and often covered with helmets or fabric to look real from a distance. In 1970, a child's reaction is shown upon meeting André the Giant, the famous French wrestler and entertainer known worldwide for his height and striking presence. André, whose real name was André René Roussimoff, traveled to many countries for sports shows and public events. In 1975, a chess class was photographed at a school in Pskov in the former Soviet Union, highlighting the value placed on the game as an educational and intellectual development tool. Scottish actor Sean Connery on his way to a round of golf in 1962 when his film career was soaring. That same year, he played James Bond in Dr. No, the first feature in the famous series that would become a global phenomenon. In 1980, a Fanta soda kiosk appears in Moscow in the former Soviet Union, symbolizing the arrival of international brands in the country. The presence of a product tied to a major foreign company reflected economic and cultural changes that were starting to intensify at that time. In 1941, during World War II, women were photographed with stockings painted directly on their legs as an alternative to buying the product, which was scarce due to rationing. The so-called feet brush was a curious invention, brushes strapped to the feet so a housewife could clean the floor while keeping her hands free for other tasks, like reading. In January 1941, a photograph showed a British soldier next to a Canadian sailor, symbolizing cooperation among different Allied forces during World War II. In 1907, construction workers were photographed on a steel beam about 200 feet above the ground, roughly 60 meters, showing the courage and skill demanded by that line of work. In 1970, a mother and her daughter were photographed walking through New York City streets, capturing a simple everyday moment amid the big city's bustle. The scene reflects the urban vibe of the era, marked by a mix of modernity and tradition. In the mid-20th century, a musical group is seen performing on a small stage with a pianist seated on the left, a bass player in the back, and a singer featured in the center. The pianist, identified as the photographer's grandfather, is focused on the keys while accompanying the performance. In 1947, the company Hennes was founded in Västerås, Sweden, later becoming known worldwide as H&M. The original store focused solely on women's fashion, offering affordable clothing during the post-war rebuilding period. A few years later, the purchase of a men's store. In December 1941, a diver was photographed after coming out from inside the USS Arizona in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, where he was working on an inspection operation. The site was flooded and had interior areas covered in oil, requiring significant technical effort for underwater work. In 1963, fishermen were photographed on the Mureș River in Romania, in a scene showing simple daily life and a close connection with nature. Fishing was not only a means of subsistence, but also part of the region's cultural tradition, known for its rivers and rural landscapes. In 1960, a young Barack Obama was photographed in a pirate costume next to his mother, Ann Dunham. The image shows a relaxed family moment, revealing the childhood of the person who would later become President of the United States. In 1928, a man known as the Iceman was photographed in Houston, Texas, delivering a 25-pound block of ice. At that time, before electric refrigerators became common, ice delivery was essential for keeping food and drinks at home. In 1912, brothers Michel and Edmund Navratil, known as the Titanic Orphans, became part of history as the only children rescued from the ship without parents or guardians. The tragedy happened on the Titanic's maiden voyage from Southampton to New York. Around the 1940s in Pittsburgh, a car was struck by a 3 million volt electrical discharge during a test run by Westinghouse Electric Corporation. Greta Garbo appears in 1931 as Mata Hari in a photo taken inside a Hollywood mansion already in decay. The setting gave the portrait a unique feel, contrasting the character's luxury with the visible wear of the place. In 1918, during World War I, a heavy artillery gun was photographed in night action in France. The image shows the weapon firing, lighting up the dark sky and revealing the conflict's intensity. In 1975, the Pulsar was released, an innovative device that combined computer, calculator, and wristwatch functions in a single accessory. Considered a landmark in portable technology, it stood out for packing abilities previously limited to larger equipment. On March 17, 1925, the tri-state tornado outbreak occurred, still considered the deadliest tornado outbreak in U.S. history and possibly the most lethal ever recorded worldwide. It mainly hit Missouri, Illinois, and Indiana, leaving at least 751 dead and thousands injured. In 1964, engineer Karen Leadley was photographed working on analog computers in General Dynamics Space Division, a U.S. company that played a major role in technological development during the space race. In 1983 and 1986, Unit 4 of the Chernobyl nuclear power plant in the former Soviet Union was photographed operating before the accident that made it world famous. In 1971, Marlon Brando was photographed before and after makeup to play Vito Corleone in The Godfather, directed by Francis Ford Coppola. The image shows the actor's transformation through makeup and prosthetics that gave the character an aged, distinct look. In 1940, the ice fountain on Washington Boulevard in Detroit was photographed, showing how frozen water turned the fountain into a natural sculpture during the region's harsh winters. In 1935, actor Errol Flynn was photographed with his wife, actress Lily DeMita, in an image that highlighted the pair as one of Hollywood's most talked-about couples at the time. The parade known as the We Want Beer Parade took place in New York City on May 14, 1932. The event happened during Prohibition in the United States, when producing and selling alcoholic beverages was banned nationwide. In 1984, Pope John Paul II is shown skiing on Italy's Adamello Mountain, a habit that revealed his taste for outdoor activities. Before becoming head of the Catholic Church, Karol Wojtyła already practiced sports like mountaineering and skiing, especially in his youth in Poland. In 1975, three major international music stars are together: Cher, Elton John, and Diana Ross. All were already leading artists of the 1970s, a decade marked by diverse styles and the expansion of pop culture. Hong Kong in the 1950s, when bicycles were among the most used daily transportation. The streets were busy with a mix of cyclists, pedestrians, and vehicles, reflecting the region's urban growth. Freddie Mercury and Brian May on stage during a 1981 performance in Montreal, Canada, one of Queen's memorable moments. The band had already reached international fame with hits that won over audiences around the world. In 1964, telephone operators in Tokyo, Japan, used a new device called the View Phone, developed by Toshiba Shibara Electric Co. It was designed so the caller could see the operator and be seen at the same time, working as an early form of video calling. A boy plays in the shadow of the Berlin Wall in 1967 on Bernauer Strasse in West Berlin, Germany. On the other side of the wall, soldiers stood guard, highlighting the separation of that historical period. The Hughes H-4, Hercules, also called the Spruce Goose, made its first flight in 1947 near San Pedro, California, United States. Designed by engineer and businessman Howard Hughes, the aircraft became known as the largest flying boat ever built, with a wingspan of over 320 feet. In 1897, a worker was photographed bottling ketchup at Heinz's original factory in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, United States. The image shows part of the production process when the company was already becoming one of the country's largest processed food makers. In 1952, Marilyn Monroe was photographed working out at the Hotel Bel Air in Los Angeles, revealing a lesser-known side of the actress tied to health and physical discipline. In 1890, Paris's skyline was photographed during major urban transformation in the late 19th century. The scene shows historic buildings alongside new architectural elements that were starting to shape the French capital's landscape. In 1971, Sergeant Danny Wright, a patrol commander with Australia's Special Air Service Regiment, SAS, was photographed in Nui Dat, celebrating with a drink after completing his last patrol in Vietnam. In 1969, Mae Musk, then 20 years old, was crowned Miss Vale Queen in a beauty pageant held in South Africa. The event was part of regional contests that highlighted promising young women in fashion and elegance shows. In 1837, Tiffany & Company was founded in New York City by Charles Louis Tiffany and John B. Young as a luxury goods store. Over the years, the brand became a global reference in jewelry and silver design, turning into a synonym for elegance and sophistication. In 1941, children were photographed resting and cooling off at the Madonna House Nursery in New York City. The place served as a social support institution, offering care and recreational activities for families in need. In 1962, Glenn Bell opened the first Taco Bell in Downey, California, introducing a new fast food concept inspired by Mexican cuisine. The brand's idea was to offer items like tacos and burritos in a quick and affordable format, still uncommon in the United States at the time. In 1904, during the Russo-Japanese War, Japanese soldiers were photographed bathing in an improvised facility. The scene shows that even during conflict, there were moments for hygiene and personal care, essential to maintaining troop health. In 1988, Barack Obama visited his step-grandmother, Sarah Ogwell Onyango Obama, in Alego, Kenya, on a trip to learn more about his family origins. The visit was an important personal milestone, giving the future U.S. president direct contact with his African roots. In 1925, a work titled Reminiscing the Father was recorded as an example of early 20th century artistic expression. The piece reflects themes of memory and family bond, widely explored in the interwar period when loss and longing were common feelings across many societies. In 1969, the first Wendy's location opened in Columbus, Ohio, United States. Founded by Dave Thomas, the restaurant quickly stood out by introducing the square hamburger, which became its signature. In 1971, during Bangladesh's independence process, there were episodes of intense social and religious tension that deeply affected the population. Recorded practices included identification methods that led to persecution of specific communities, such as Hindus. Vasily Arkhipov, a Soviet Navy officer, is remembered for his decision on October 27, 1962, during the Cuban Missile Crisis. In a moment of extreme tension, he refused to authorize firing a nuclear warhead torpedo at a U.S. ship, preventing an escalation that could have had global consequences. In 1963, actress Tippi Hedren is seen behind the scenes of The Birds, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, in a curious moment when a crow seems to light her cigarette. The production by Universal Pictures became one of the great landmarks of 1960s cinema. In 1958, Elvis Presley is shown during his time in U.S. military service, a period that marked his personal life and artistic career. Already one of the era's biggest singers, he drew major media attention when he enlisted, becoming news in many countries. In 1950, a photograph titled Sisters in Skirts shows a group of sisters wearing skirts typical of the era's fashion, reflecting post-war elegance and style. The period was marked by cultural change and the solidification of a feminine ideal linked to sophistication and delicate clothing. If you enjoyed this video and want to support the channel, please use the Super Thanks tool below. Your contribution helps us keep bringing you amazing historical content. Thank you so much for your support, and see you in the next video.